Hello everyone, this is Trevor with Mando Deck Tech, and today we're going to be talking about a deck that I'm super high on. It's the Rey Aggression deck. Now, if you are new here, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel. We're going to be putting out more and more content as we all get ready for this new tournament season, as we get ready for the Planetary Qualifier. So we're going to be taking a look at meta decks, how those decks are evolving, and also newcomers, or what we call the rogues. And those are the decks like Tarkin Space, Han Blue, and today we're going to be talking about Rey Aggression. So without further ado, let's take a look at the deck. So today we're going to be looking at a deck that I've been really high on since the beginning of Set 2, and it's the Rey Aggression deck. Now, I feel that this deck is really solid because when I sit down and play with it, I don't have a situation where I come up with a matchup that I'm like, oh no, I don't know what to do, or this is a bad matchup for me. I feel like with the amount of restore that I have, that I can have a really solid early game against Aggression. I feel against Boba, their tempo plays, I've got enough to kind of withstand the onslaught of that. And against Control, I have the discard shell that I've become a huge fan of playing both this and Han Blue. So I feel like it doesn't have a terrible matchup against anything. And when we talk about getting ready for these big events, the big planetary qualifiers coming up, I want to take a deck, and I think everybody would say this, that they don't have a terrible matchup, that they sit down and they feel like they have a chance to beat everything. Maybe it's not, there's no deck that's a magic bullet that can beat everything, but at least I have a chance when I sit down that I'm not going to get blown out. So as we take a look at this deck, I kind of want to go through the turns. I feel that this has one of the best turn 1 plays in the game. When I talk about putting R2-D2 down turn 1 and being able to put a counter on him to make him a 2-5, that is a very solid play because you're going to be able to start filtering through your deck immediately, and there's nothing out there that can shut that down immediately. And if they do spend a lot of resources to try to shut that down, that's a huge win for you as well. So on turn 1, we have that. We also have the Restored Arc 170. We have the Green Squadron A-Wing, and then Sabine Wren. All of those are very solid turn 1 plays that can get stronger later with Rey's ability, which I really like the fact that these guys that start early can start getting better late. And I think it's really strong. That's kind of what Rey gives you as we kind of go through the deck. Also, I think Yoda is a huge play in this. He comes out as a 2-4. If they don't handle it immediately, you can put Rey, get a token to him, make him a 3-5. Same goes with Red 3. Also, Tech. Tech is another card that is extremely good. I'm going to have a hard time playing any hero deck right now that doesn't have Tech in the deck. In fact, I'm even seeing some villain decks I want to play now that I'm like, I might put one Tech in here because he allows so many interesting gameplay mechanics down the road. Like, you get stalled out by Control, you can smuggle in Tech, and all of a sudden, a lot of options open up to you. From there, we have the Jedi package. We have Kanan, we have Obi-Wan, we have Luke. All of those are super solid plays as we go through turns, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I do like Forces with Me in this deck. I've been playing around with that a good bit. And also, you've got your big bombs. You've got Poe Dameron. And another card that I've been really liking in this deck right now is Kylo Ren. I didn't have this guy in the deck originally, then I added him, and now all of a sudden, he's a huge problem later games. If people don't have an answer for Kylo, he can win the game extremely fast. Also, late game, we've got the Redemption, and then we've got Crate Dragon as well. But the thing that I like about this deck is that you can early on go into like almost your own aggro plan against certain decks, using, the A-Wings with the tokens off of Rey and things of that nature. And then you can also back that up with Pillages to kind of strip the hand against Control. Against aggro decks, I have enough early game to kind of slow them down. And then I can also back that up with Obi-Wan Kenobi coming out is usually a really awesome, stop, slow down play. I love the fact that I can play him the same turn that Rey comes out. So if they deal with Obi-Wan Kenobi, then Rey gets completely out of hand when she gets the tokens from Obi-Wan Kenobi. Overall, I really like this deck. I've been jamming it a lot lately on Karabast. I have played this a good amount live, and I've had a lot of good luck with this deck. So is this the final version of this deck? Of course not. We're always going to be tweaking it. But right now, this is where I've got the deck. If you look at the sideboard, I've got Moisture Farmer. I've got 3 of those on the board. The original version of this deck, I ran Moisture Farmer main, and it did very, very well when a lot of people were still jamming a lot of Sabine in my area. Now that I'm seeing less of that, I've moved him to the sideboard. He is so good against aggro decks that I have a hard time not putting some of these into the sideboard. They have to slow down and deal with him or they cannot win. That's how good Moisture Farmer is in this deck. I do like the different packages of Fell the Dragon, Open Fire. I like having extra of those on the board depending on what I'm playing against. And against heavy control decks, having an extra crate dragon is great. Plus, I love using force throw to throw a crate dragon at somebody and just killing something that absolutely has to die. So those are all fun things I play with this deck. Now, the inclusion of Tarkin Town, there are games that I wish this wasn't Tarkin Town, and there's other games where I'm so glad this is Tarkin Town. So with more testing, right now I'm in the camp of, yes, I want the 25-point Tarkin Town ability, but against some matchups, having that 30-point base is a big deal. So you could talk me into one or the other depending on what the meta, what I think I'm going to face up against, but right now I really like Tarkin Town. Now, with any time I do any of these decks, I'm either going to show you some gameplay, or I'm going to show you results. Today, we're going to go over some results. So these are the Carabas games I've played over the last couple of days, so let's go. Now, before I jump into the results, just a reminder, this is my evolving list of the road to the planetary qualifier. I have the Gauntlet. These are the decks that I know I want to be able to play against, know how these matchups go. It's Sabines, it's Boba, Kira Control, Palp Control, still seeing that, both the yellow and the green version. Palp Blue, I've seen that some as well. Old Han, mainly the yellow. I haven't seen the green U-Wing Control as much, but I am seeing a whole lot of yellow Han, especially since it did so well at Gen Con. Vader, we're still seeing green. I've seen blue control of that, and I've moved blue Han from a rogue deck to part of the Gauntlet. I think the deck is that good now that we have to really start talking about it being part of the main tier of decks to look at when we're going to these major tournaments. For the rogues, I still think Tarkin Space is a fantastic deck. I'm still playing with it. I have another version of it I'm working on, so I'll probably be doing another video on Tarkin Space soon. Today we're talking about the Rey deck. Young Han ECL. Yeah, there's a green version of the deck that I've seen. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I think the blue Han of that deck is so much better. I may take that off the rogue list. Bosk Bounty is still a deck that I think is very, very good, has a lot of potential. Kylo Rush, I'm seeing that a ton right now, and I think that is a very strong contender for the Rush King between him and Sabine. And then Hondo Blue, that's a rogue deck, but I'm still saying that it's pretty solid. So those are the decks right now that we're taking a look at, needing to be able to know how that deck works and how to play against it and play against its strengths as we get ready for the planetary qualifier season. So now, saying all of that, here's my playtest results. So this is early. I've played, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I've played 16 games. I've lost 3. So 13-3 with this deck immediately. I have a couple of notes on here. As you can see, I've done well against Sabines. I've done well against Yellow Han. The only decks that I've lost to is Boba, ECL, Boba Yellow. The ECL game that I lost, had he not top deck Surprise Strike, I would have won that game. But that happens in that matchup. The Boba Yellow game that I lost, I got completely out-tempoed with Cunning, and that happens. Sometimes that's the thing about Boba Yellow. It can just draw the hand and beat you. Han Blue, 1-1. It came down to who had tech active. He killed mine. I didn't have his, and he was able to get late game, and I couldn't. But in the game that I beat him, I was able to get my discard off before him. So it's a solid deck. It's a solid matchup. But there's a Mando Yellow I played against that. I thought it was an interesting deck. Iden Blue, I've played that as well in here. Discard, if you'll see some of the notes here, Discard won the game. Discard won the game. Discard won the game. I think the Discard package is so strong right now for hero decks that I'm going to have a hard time playing any type of hero deck that doesn't have that package in it, because there's certain matchups that just it just shuts them down. It's such a good strategy against a lot of decks. So anyway, super quick today. This is the deck that I've been playing around with. I'd love to hear your feedback. What are you playing with Rey Red? Is there a couple of guys that you like in the deck? Are the numbers a little bit different for you? I still think this is a deck that has a ton of potential, and I'm just not quite ready to say, oh, that's not part of the meta, because I think it is a really strong contender. Rey can be an absolute powerhouse. I have seen some people play this version of this deck with Jedi lightsabers. I could be talked into that. Turn 1, and R2-D2, put a token on him, and then turn 2, slap a Jedi lightsaber on it. If you're not playing against someone that has quick removal, like a bounce or power of the dark side, they lose. There's a lot of decks just can't beat that. So there's a lot of ways you can play this deck. I'd love to see what you've got out there. Share me. One thing I've had some people tell me is they've been sharing their test results back with me. I'd love to know, when you play this deck, what are you good with? What are you struggling with? And I'd like to see what other options we have out here for this list. Also, put a message down there. If there's a certain deck out there that you would like for me to do a deck tech video of, I'm open to it. I'd love to take a look. I've had a request to do a Jabba deck pretty soon, the Jabba Red deck, the Tarkin yellow deck. I'll be doing that pretty soon as well. So until next time, let's keep playing. Take care, guys.